Shedeur Sanders has officially arrived for his first start this year against the Buffalo Bills in preseason week 2. We also have some warm-up clips along with the starters or potential starters that will not actually play with him, along with more information. We're gonna talk about that in this video.
You've had a full off season without having to worry about pro days or combine or the draft, just work and prep for year 2. With the spring, the summer, and a preseason game in the books, how you feeling?
I feel really good. I'm excited about everything, excited about the team, excited about overall us players banding together a little more, spending this time together, so I'm excited.
You had 3 drives in the first preseason game in Chicago. What are you taking from those reps as you prepare for this start this week against the Bills in the preseason?
Just certain mental notes I need to take in the next game, obviously, and apply them, play more of a cleaner game, I would say. See kind of like how to stay consistent, within those drives and keep it going.
Something about today's game doesn't feel like just another preseason snap count. Because in a little over 40 minutes, Shedeur Sanders is going to walk onto that field against the Buffalo Bills, and depending on what happens in the next 2 quarters, it could be the last time we watch him fight for a starting job he hasn't officially won yet. Todd Monken already told us the decision isn't going to drag out. He said it himself, the quarterback decision won't go past early next week. That means this isn't a normal Saturday. This is Shedeur's last real audition, in front of his home crowd, with the clock already ticking. So the question isn't whether this game matters. The question is what Shedeur does with it.
Play in second preseason game against the Buffalo Bills. We only here for Shedeur Sanders, so we're going to take a look at the actual offensive players that he won't have as of right now. Quinshon Judkins is ruled out. Cedric Tillman is ruled out. And tight end Dawand Wright is also ruled out as expected. Browns reporter Mary Kay Cabot also reported that Shedeur Sanders will have Denzel Boston. No word if he will have KC, Bond, and the rest of those guys. We will know obviously before kickoff, but as of right now, he is expected to have Denzel Boston along with Spencer Fant.
Let's start with where he's actually at right now. This isn't the pressure of the draft. It is in the chaos of rookie minicamp or the uncertainty of a combine. Shedeur has had something he didn't have last year. A full offseason, spring work, a full summer, and now 1 preseason game already in the books before this one. When he was asked how that felt, he didn't hesitate. He said he feels really good, genuinely excited, not just about his own game, but about the way this team has come together. That's not the tone of a guy who sounds rattled heading into the biggest evaluation window of his career. That's a guy who sounds like he's been waiting for this exact moment. But here's where this gets interesting. Excitement is one thing, production is another, and Shedeur knows that better than anyone, because when he talked about his first preseason outing in Chicago, 3 drives worth of run, he didn't talk about highlights, he talked about mental notes. He talked about cleaning up the details, about staying consistent from drive to drive instead of flashing for one series and disappearing the next. That's not the language of a guy chasing a moment. That's the language of a guy trying to build a body of work good enough that the Browns front office literally cannot look away from it. And that's exactly what's about to be tested today. Now look at the setup he's walking into. The plan for today is already locked in. Shedeur gets the first 2 quarters. Deshaun Watson takes over in the 3rd. Dillon Gabriel closes it out in the 4th. On paper, that's just a normal preseason rotation. But when you actually think about what that means for Shedeur specifically, it's not normal at all. Because this is the first time this year he's stepping in as QB1, running with the first-team offense in front of the home fans at Huntington Bank Field. That's a completely different environment than mop-up duty. That's a real opportunity to show exactly what he looks like when the game is built around him instead of built around someone else. But there's another part of this story that matters just as much, and it's the part a lot of casual fans are going to miss completely. Shedeur isn't getting his full arsenal today. Quinshon Judkins is out, Cedric Tillman is out, tight end Tight end D. Wright is also out, exactly as expected. According to Brown's reporting, Shedeur is expected to have Denzel Boston and Spencer Fano with him, but beyond that, it's not confirmed whether he'll have his full group of skill players by kickoff. Now sit with that for a second. The guy who's supposed to be delivering a statement performance in the exact week the Browns are deciding their starting quarterback is doing it without some of his top offensive weapons. That's the overlooked detail that changes how this whole game should be watched. If Shedeur struggles today, the easy headline is going to be Shedeur struggled. But if you already know the full offensive picture, you know the real story is more complicated than that. This is where the bigger NFL context comes in. Every quarterback evaluation is shaped by circumstance. Talent matters, decision-making matters, accuracy matters, but so does who's catching the ball, who's blocking up front, and who's calling the shots on the other sideline. Shedeur isn't just being evaluated on talent today, he's being evaluated on what he can do when the situation isn't perfect. And honestly, that might actually be the more valuable test, because if he can still move the offense, still make good decisions, still look like a starter even with a thinner supporting cast around him, that says something about his ceiling that a clean, fully loaded performance never could. But if he struggles, the counterargument writes itself just as easily. How do you fairly separate the missing pieces from the quarterback play? That tension between opportunity and circumstance is exactly what's going to define how people talk about this game once it's over.
We are a little over 40 minutes away before kickoff. Shedeur Sanders is expected to play first 2 quarters. Deshaun Watson will get that 3rd quarter, and then Dillon Gabriel will get that 4th quarter. This is a very important game for Shedeur Sanders, regardless of how anybody feel as far as what they're doing in the front office. This is a way that you can still apply pressure, because now not only are you getting a chance to show what you can do in 2 quarters, and you're getting some reps in with the first team offense. On top of that, you're getting a chance to showcase all of this in front of the Browns fans. Very important right there, because this only going to make it more and more difficult for the Cleveland Browns front office to not go with Shedeur Sanders, especially if he go out there and ball out as I expect. So we are definitely going to cover this game. You guys know I'm going to give you guys the post-game recap of Shedeur's performance, and then we'll see what Todd Monken has to say. Obviously, we have...
Now here's the part that raises the stakes even higher. This isn't happening in a vacuum. This is happening in front of Cleveland's own fan base, in the building where Shedeur is trying to become the guy. And there's a real argument that this factor alone makes today different from anything he's done so far. It's one thing to compete for a job on paper. It's another thing to compete for it live, in real time, with the people who are going to be cheering or turning on you sitting right there in the stands. If Shedeur goes out and plays clean, efficient, decisive football today, it doesn't just help his numbers, it changes the emotional temperature of the entire quarterback conversation in Cleveland. It makes it harder, a lot harder, for the front office to look past what they're seeing with their own eyes and go in a different direction. A strong performance in this exact setting doesn't just add to a stat sheet, it adds to a narrative that starts to feel almost impossible to ignore. That's the real weight sitting on top of this game. So what happens after the final whistle? The story doesn't end when the clock hits 0. There's still the post-game breakdown, still Todd Monken's comments to dissect, still a Sunday film session where every throw, every read, every decision gets put under the microscope frame by frame. That's when the surface-level headlines get tested against what actually happened on tape. Box scores can lie, film usually doesn't. And that film is going to matter more this week than almost any other week of Shedeur's young career, because it's not just going to shape public opinion, it's going to directly influence a decision that's reportedly coming within days, not weeks. So bring it back to where this all started. Shedeur said he doesn't feel pressure. He said every day matters the same. Maybe that's true. Maybe that mindset is exactly what allows a young quarterback to walk into a win or lose moment and not let the moment get too big. Or maybe it's the version of confidence a competitor has to project publicly, even when everything happening around him says otherwise. A looming decision, a fan base watching closely, a locker room quietly wondering who's going to be throwing them the ball in week 1.
Either way, in the next 2 quarters, none of that talk is going to matter anymore because words don't win quarterback competitions. Drives do. Decisions do. What happens when the lights are on and the job is actually on the line, that's what does. Shedeur Sanders has been building toward this exact afternoon for months. Now the only thing left to find out is whether this is the day everything finally clicks into place or the day the questions around him get even louder. Either way, Cleveland is about to find out a lot more about its quarterback situation than it knew this morning. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, don't just scroll past it. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update the second more news drops.